Travel can have a powerful and lasting impact on children's lives, shaping their development, worldview, and character, according to our guest today. And he should know. As the manager of travel product and business development for AAA, the Auto Club Group, Chris Womer has road-tested countless journeys with his own family and has seen the effects on kids firsthand. From increased confidence, curiosity, and compassion, to lessons learned in geography, history, culture, science, and language, just from being out in the world. We are so happy Chris is here today to share the best lessons he's learned over the years of family travel and to inspire you and yours. Chris Womer, welcome to Well Traveled with AAA.
Thank you so much, Abby. I am excited to be here to talk about this.
Great. So let's start with the pretty staggering realization that most parents reach at some point, and that is you've got maybe 17 summers with your kids before they're off on their own. So how early were you and your wife thinking about making that time really count and about building these amazing family memories?
Oh, wow, Abby, that's a great question. Let me word it this way. Both of them had their first passport photos when they were less than 6 months old.
Oh my God.
And they also had their Sky Miles number with Delta by that time. So the thoughts about it have been, early on before they were even welcomed into the world, simply because myself, I'm an avid traveler, as you know, working in the industry, but my curiosity for the world stemmed, as a kid as well, with my parents taking me on road trips. And then it eventually grew to the privilege of traveling overseas, which then when I had the opportunity to enter the travel industry, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then when my wife and I got married, her and I stayed as avid travelers, and we knew we wanted to bring our kids to see these wonderful, amazing places that are out there. But it was, we did wait a couple of years because obviously it's a little harder to travel when they're infants, but you make do.
Mm-hmm. And your family travels have really run the gamut, not just the proverbial planes, trains, and automobiles, but also ships. So maybe we could start with that last category, that is cruises, and talk about how enriching they can actually be for kids beyond all the kid-friendly amenities that I think people think about first, like kids clubs and theme parties.
Yeah, you do have that on board. But last summer we had the privilege to travel to Alaska. My parents were celebrating their 50th anniversary and wanted to take a trip with me and our kids. And so we chose Alaska with Holland America. And I did that for a very specific reason. As you said in your wonderful introduction, travel teaches you lifelong lessons in history and culture and geography and all sorts of things. And when we researched the options for Alaska, I saw Holland America had what I really loved called the Junior Ranger program. And naturalists or park rangers, like when we were in Glacier Bay, came on board the ship and had sessions with the kids and taught them all about glaciers and what they were seeing and experiencing them. And they left with Junior Ranger badges from the National Park Service for Glacier Bay. I mean, they were excited to be on board as we departed from Seattle and heading north. But I still remember, the first morning we got into the inside passage of Alaska, and it was calm as can be. And we were sitting there having breakfast, and somebody gave me the tip before we went. They're like, always ask for a table by the window when you are in Alaska, when you're in the dining room. So I did. Well, we're eating breakfast, and kids are nibbling on their wonderful French toast, which they loved. And we started to see whale tails coming out of the water. And so they were just in awe. And that was just the beginning. I mean, in Juneau, we went whale watching, and we saw them coming in and out of the water and the wildlife. But I think the best moment on land that I can think of, actually, there's two great ones. And one was when we were at one of the ports on a very small, intimate excursion with only about 15 people. They brought us out into the rainforest outside of the town, And it is a rainforest up there. And we saw a grizzly bear just jump in the river and catch a salmon as if we were watching a special on National Geographic.
Oh my
It
God.
was just phenomenal. And then, Abby, a second moment also involves a bear, but we were out on a small boat across the bay over to a little homestead where they were going to have a bonfire and make s'mores and everything. But right en route, as we're pulling in, there's a pebble beach, and there was a little cub bear digging up oysters. And so just to see all that firsthand, the look on their face was priceless. And my wife and I just, I don't know what was more amazing, watching them or watching the wildlife.
Wow. Well, that's actually a really nice segue. You've mentioned bears enjoying oysters and salmon. So let's talk about food on cruise ships and how you have found it to cater to multiple generations worth of tastes.
Yeah. Not only on this trip, but my wife and I have been on other cruises and have enjoyed the food, but kids can be picky. It's a fact of life. And I think all parents know that. And it's something you worry about on vacation. But when we were on this cruise to Alaska, we didn't have to worry about it at all because they catered to the kids just as well as the adults. So every day on this trip, they offered a taste of Alaska on the menu. So fresh halibut, freshly caught salmon, all sorts of other things, which, can be a little intimidating to a 8 and 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So, while me and my wife and parents got to enjoy all the amazing cuisine that was offered, my kids were happy because they had twin mini cheeseburgers and cheese pizzas and French fries. So it was a win-win for everybody.
Turn family trips into lasting memories the easy way with AAA. From hand-picked hotels to expert planning, we make family travel simple and stress-free. Book with a AAA travel expert and unlock exclusive perks and member-only savings. Start your next adventure at AAA.com/travel. Trains are another especially family-friendly mode of travel that you've gotten some great firsthand experience with, including, again, the food, but with several other kinds of experiences too. Could you share some of those highlights with our listeners?
Yeah, I do have to say we found train travel to be a wonderful mode of transportation, especially as a family, because you can sit back and take the scenery in and not have to worry about the driving. You don't hear, are we there yet or how much longer? So we've done 2 train trips, actually. One from Denver to Moab with a AAA partner named Rocky Mountaineer, which was spectacular. And on that trip, it's a 2-day journey where we started in Denver, went through the Rocky Mountains and the Continental Divide, and overnighted in Glenwood Springs. And then the next day continued on to Moab. But as you mentioned earlier with culinary, to many people's surprise, Rocky Mountaineer and a lot of trains, much like cruise ships, specialize in culinary fineness, I'll word it that way, but have the range. So on that trip, again, my wife and I got to enjoy the wonderful fine food that they prepare. And if my kids wanted mac and cheese, the staff was ready to make it, and they delivered. And then, and it was just wonderful because, like I said, taking in the scenery and the fun, and you just sit there and with your kids and your bond, and you take things in together. We've also done Amtrak vacations with they're another partner of ours, and it was a simple trip. We live in the Detroit area, so we traveled from Detroit to Chicago. For those in this corridor of the Midwest, they know that the traffic between Detroit and Chicago on I-94 can get horrendous. So it's a dreaded drive if you make that trip. And the flight, it's a short hop, but getting in from O'Hare into the city can be challenging. So we chose to do the Amtrak vacations package, and it brought us right into Union Station in Chicago. We were right there. Went to our hotel and got to explore the city. And the nice thing about Amtrak, too, is they have a dining car with a whole menu of food to pick from, or you can pack your own snacks if you have picky eaters to bring on board the train with you. The other beautiful thing was no security. So you didn't have to wait in line like you do at the airport, be there an hour ahead, etc. Which is really relaxing and a great way to travel as a family.
Well, and moving to another beautiful mountainous part of North America, let's talk about group tours that are particularly designed for families and your own family's experience in the Canadian Rockies. What were some of the standout experiences for you there?
Sure, yeah. This one's going to be fresh because we just did this a couple months ago in June, or just over a month ago, actually, in June. But we went with another AAA partner, Tauk, and they have a family. They have a line of products called Tauk Bridges, which specialize in travel for family and group tours. And they take care of all the details for you. It's wonderful. And they have these highly trained guides who specialize in showing the destination to families, especially to kids. And it was great because we got to travel with other, I'll use the word like-minded families with kids who shared a lot of the same curiosities to the world and were there for many of the same reasons.
Yeah.
And the kids got to bond with other kids from different parts of the country. So that in itself was wonderful, Abby. But the Canadian Rockies, wow. If you've never been there, I highly, highly recommend you go there.
Yeah, it's a must.
I've traveled extensively, as you said, Switzerland. When I think of the Canadian Rockies, I compare it to places in Switzerland or the South Island of New Zealand, just the mountains and the scenery, and they just go on and on and on and on. I just, so many times we're thinking, wow, this makes our Rocky Mountains look like hills in a way. It was just amazing.
Right.
But the lessons they learn there too, just with all sorts of stuff. I think one of the big ones last year, Jasper had that horrendous fire.
Yeah.
That just, and it's still very charred around the town. And the tree, it's going to take years and years, but Sarah, our guide, turned that into a positive. She with empathy explained the devastation, but also turned it into a lesson to teach the kids the importance that fire plays in nature and how, fire helps new trees germinate, and that without fire, we don't have this rebirth in our forests and everything. So they, the guide, I think only a guide can do stuff like that.
Getting ready to travel? Make sure your family's travel investment is protected with travel insurance so you can do more and worry less. Ask us about children under the age of 17 being protected for free with select plans when accompanied by a parent or grandparent while traveling. Visit AAA.com/travel insurance for details. There is a radically different kind of nature that kids can't help but get excited about, and especially those who are fans of Lilo and Stitch or Moana. And of course, I am talking about the tropics of Hawaii. Could you talk about some of your family's best experiences there?
Yes, Abby, now you're in our sweet spot. Our family has come to love Hawaii. I never thought that would be a place that our kids would have been to, now going on 4 times before they were even in their early teenage years. But we decided to take them to Hawaii during the pandemic, actually, when there were rock bottom prices and flights were empty and hotels were empty. So they were just almost giving things away. And I just said to my wife, hey, let's do this. And the kids loved it. And we decided, let's go back. And now we're going back again next year for the 4th time. But I think what made Hawaii great, just from a family aspect, is there's so much diversity and activity there. And I mean, you get the relaxing beach and some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, obviously. But there's also the very, very cool Hawaiian culture, and you learn, and the kids can experience a different culture right in the United States that's very unique and very near and dear to so many, and the Hawaiians hold on to that culture, which is wonderful to see. And they really value nature, as you know, and so they learn all the natural aspects, and so you can weave in a lot of learning and a lot of adventure and a lot of just very cool things into a destination that's paradise. And a lot of families don't think to go there because there's a lot of myths out there that Hawaii is so expensive and it's, not an achievable destination for so many. But Hawaii is one of those places that you can just make it what you want. And there's a range of everything there. And we always go with a partner, Delta Vacations, and we love them because we can bundle our flight and hotel and activities, everything into one package. And that really actually brings down the price, which is a tip I'd like to offer our listeners there, that a lot of people don't think of it, but bundling flights and hotels, you can offer unpublished airfares that you can't find even on the internet. So you got to go through a travel agency to do it. And so that's what we do. And so we get these great deals. Often, we can go to Hawaii as a family for less than $1,500 a person. And once you're there, again, you can grab a plate of fruit or cut up a pineapple for your breakfast and grab some coffee, and then, maybe just stop somewhere quick for lunch, and then a range of everything for dinner, no matter where you are. So it's an amazing place to go as a family. We've just almost made it a tradition now that spring break, we're going to go to Hawaii and we're going to explore a new island and go somewhere different.
Well, that is an enviable tradition. And how have Hawaii's whales compared in your experience with Alaska's?
Wow. Well, they're the same whales, obviously, because they migrate between the two places, which is another fascinating thing. The kids learn that these whales in Hawaii are going to be the whales they see in Alaska during the summer. But wow, we were in Maui this past year, and my son Bruno loves whales, but he just especially loves whales. And we didn't have it planned, actually, to go whale watching because I have no idea why. I don't know why we didn't plan that. And we were sitting in our hotel, and my older son said, "Hey, let's go whale watching tomorrow. That looks cool." So we did. And we hit the lottery, according to the guides that day. And whales were breaching left and right. One breached so close to our boat. I wish I could, a podcast, you can't really share a picture and it's so hard to describe, but
yeah,
I would say within 20 feet, because you can't approach the whales, but they can approach you. Right, and this one really approached us. And when that whale came out of the water and how close it was to us and the splash, we were all in awe. But Bruno's look was just like, wow, you'd think he just met a celebrity. But that wasn't the end of it. It just continued on. And that's why the guides were like, you guys really won the lottery today. Because soon enough, we came across a mom whale in her calf. And the mom was teaching it how to breach. And so, the mom would breach, then the calf would breach. And then they would breach together. And it was just amazing. And then the other beautiful thing that happened on that is they had the equipment to put a microphone under the water. And we got to hear them sing. And, the kids learned that day that whales can sing. And we named the band FinSync, if you know NSYNC. So it was FinSync.
Great.
But yeah, it was cool. Very cool.
Are you going to attempt to recreate FinSync's greatest hits for us here on the podcast?
I wish I could do it. The whales have a better voice than I do when it comes to singing.
Well, on a more serious note, there's also obviously pretty intense World War II history in Hawaii. Is that something that the kids wanted to explore as well?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question because Bruno, my one fond of whales, is a big World War II buff too. And while we were planning Honolulu, he personally asked me, Dad, will you take me to Pearl Harbor? And I had visited Pearl Harbor twice, but had no hesitation of going again because it's a very moving experience. And he knows the history of that day because there's a lot of books and stuff out there that kids can learn on it. And so I booked the big kahuna, you can call it, pun intended, since we're speaking of Hawaii.
Yeah.
And we did the full day. We went to the Missouri, we went to the airfield, we went to the Arizona, to the visitor center. So the Missouri, he didn't know too much about that, but I had explained to him that the Japanese had surrendered on board that ship, and that's what made it so significant. And then the airfield was just amazing because the hangars were there, and the bullet holes from the machine guns from the Japanese onslaught are still in the windows. They never replaced the windows, just because of that. And then, of course, we went to the Arizona Memorial. But what really made me proud as a dad was when we got off the boat at the USS Arizona. People were exiting off. It's quiet. It's somber. People are there to remember what happened. But Bruno immediately removed his hat without being asked, without being reminded. And he did not put it back on till we were back on the boat to head back to the visitor center. So I thought that was very cool because surprisingly, there were a lot of adults who didn't even do the same.
Are you enjoying Well Traveled with AAA? Subscribe to this podcast today and share your thoughts on ratings and reviews. And you also sort of have led us into another area, which is what happens when kids start expressing individual interests, and sort of how do you cater to those interests with trips?
Yeah, it's so fun, seeing the kids, and as they grow up, as any parent will know, and the interests they glean over time. My older son, Arnie, he's a reader. He loves reading. He'll go through books quicker than I ever could. And he's picked up on a series called What Is, Who Is, and those are books written they tailor them to the 8 to 12-year-old audience, which he's in, and they pick one person or one topic to write about. And so it's like a mini biography in the Who Is. And, they range from sports celebrities to political figures. So, he's read everything from who is Travis Kelce to who is Nelson Mandela, all the way in between.
That's quite a range.
And the What Is, and that explains what is a certain thing that's happened over time. This range of topics, again, all the way from like the Civil War to 9/11. And he's just taken a real interest in Britain for some reason, and British history. I think it was after he read about the Queen, and then the Queen died, and then he read Who is Winston Churchill. So one thing I started doing, Abby, is thinking about what can we do to tailor to their individual interests and needs. And I came across a phenomenal deal to London with Delta Vacation. So I will be bringing Arnie there for the first time over Labor Day of this year for just a few days to explore London, and he can bring these stories he's read to life. I'm so looking forward to it because it's one of my favorite cities in the world. I forget the author who said, "He who tires of London tires of life," and I think it's so true. So I'm very excited for that opportunity.
And what kinds of sites is he looking to explore? What kind of history is he looking to delve into during your quick trip there?
Yeah, well, London has so much. So we're really going to focus on what he learned and what he's asked me about, and that's the Tower of London. We'll go there. Very into trains and stuff, as I mentioned earlier. So there's a London Transport Museum, and to see the changing of the guard. So a lot of the stuff around the royals and the royal family. Of course, we'll hang out by Parliament and hear the bells of Big Ben chime. Probably bring them into Westminster Abbey, because there's so many people in the crypts of at Westminster Abbey. It's such a cool place to visit. And really, I don't know what else. Well, London's one of those places where we can just hop the tube and find a place, but he already has his bucket list going. I'll put it that way.
And how about Bruno? Once his brother gets an individually tailored trip to Europe, will Bruno want one that caters to his taste?
Yeah, wow. What a life they lead, an individual tailored trip to Europe. I don't think we were ever talking about that when we were in our, 10 years old, but here we are. And I love it. Bruno, again, interested in World War II and bringing him to Pearl Harbor. He has actually asked me to bring him to France. So now we can go see the Atlantic Theater, and he wants to visit Normandy, which, again, is something I've done multiple times. My grandpa actually was in the war. He didn't land there on D-Day, but did enter France through the beaches of Normandy. So my dad and I went there once just to, take in that and honor him. But I've been back a couple times since, and now Bruno, making me proud, he wants to carry on that legacy and go see it and learn about it as well. So that's in the works. I'll word it that way, and might be something next spring,
right?
Potentially.
Well, that's really the perfect jumping off point for the last question, which is, what does well-traveled mean to you?
Travel has just become such an integral part of our lives. And I feel like, while I have the privilege of being able to take my kids, as you noted, to Europe, and then we discussed Hawaii and all these amazing places around the world, there's places within your own backyard you can go to. And I think just being well-traveled is taking time to explore, no matter where you are, if it's somewhere nearby or somewhere at a far-fetched corner of the globe, and trying to experience it through the lens of a local, putting yourselves in their shoes and learning that everybody's heart beats the same way, and that kindness is a universal language that goes a long way, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what culture you're in. It's a great question. That's
a beautiful answer, and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Abby.
You can find all of our interviews with other travel experts from around the world on the Well Traveled with AAA feed on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We hope you'll rate us or leave a comment and let us know what you think. I'm Abby Kozolczyk. Thanks for listening.